Hello again, everybody. This is Toby Brockner from the V Squared Creative podcast. I am the founder of V Squared Creative, and I have with me as a guest today Zeb Wellborn, the founder of Wellborn Media. Thanks for being here today with us, Zeb. I appreciate your time.
Hey, you're welcome, Toby. Happy to be here. This is going to be fun.
So Zeb and I, you and I originally met each other on Twitter, I think. We followed each other and we're kind of interacting back and forth. I think I may have sent you a copy of my mastermind group book, and you sent me a copy of your marketing book geared towards golf courses. And I want to talk about that a little bit. There you go. Right there.
Yeah.
Good job.
I still got it. I still got your book.
Yours is right there.
Awesome.
On that shelf somewhere. And I want to talk about your book a little bit. And I want to talk about that niche that you're kind of going after with the golf courses. But let me just let you talk a little bit about who you are and what you do, kind of your background, where you came up from, that kind of thing.
Sure. So I grew up in Chino Hills, California, which is like 45 minutes east of LA. So it's kind of like a suburb. And I went to school to become a teacher. So I became a high school history teacher, and I taught high school history for 4 years. It was fun, but I knew I couldn't live the teacher lifestyle and kind of live the way that I wanted to. So I left teaching, and when I left teaching, it was right at the beginning of the recession. So I didn't know the recession was coming or anything like that, and it just kind of hit me all at once, or leaving my job, and then it was really tough to find something else. So I was literally applying everywhere. I actually got in my truck and kind of traveled the country just to see if I could get a job somewhere in some other city, and it didn't quite pan out the way that I had hoped, because it was the beginning of the recession and nobody was hiring. Yeah. So I came back home, and I actually moved back in with my parents, and I started a tutoring business. So it was a one-on-one tutoring. I was just working with students, and I really liked the one-on-one aspect of tutoring, because when you're a teacher, you kind of feel like you let students down, whether it's the high end or the low end, because you're trying to help everyone. But when you're working one-on-one, you can really see improvement in the one student, and so you're doing a good job. And so I really liked that. So I just started I thought, hey, I could make a business out of this, and I started trying to attract new clients. And the logical thing for me was, if they were going to be looking for a tutor, that they would go to Google and type in, Chino Hills tutor or something like that. So I wanted to figure out how to get on the top of that. And I had no knowledge of internet marketing, no knowledge of nothing like that. I just wanted to figure out how to get how to get my website showing up for Chino Hills tutor. And so I started learning all I could about how to do that. And I started learning about social media, and then it kind of takes you in all of these different directions, email marketing, Google AdWords, all that kind of stuff. And so I grew that business from the ground up. And then other of the students that I was tutoring, some of them, their parents were business owners. And so they saw what I was doing in my internet marketing and said, hey, you're doing a really good job. Maybe I can hire you to help me out with some of my stuff. So that's how my internet marketing business started. And almost immediately, I was making more money than what I was doing the tutoring. So I hired somebody to take over the tutoring business, which is my wife. So she's running the business now. And I'm focused full-time on internet marketing. And the way I got into golf was, I actually used to work when I was in high school. I worked at my local golf course. And I kind of pitched them on the idea of like, hey, I'm learning all this stuff about social media. I see that you guys have just started your social media presence. I think I could help you out with that. What do you think about hiring me? And they said, sure. So I came on board, and I did a really good job, good enough job where I thought I could write a book on how to do social media for golf courses. So I did. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Good. And I think that's an important lesson for a lot of people. We think that we have to go out and build this huge, elaborate system to get new clients in. And a lot of really all we need to do is reach out to the person closest to us and get one client. And particularly small businesses, they focus a lot of their time on, in my opinion, the wrong things. We build websites, and we set up, we do graphics, and we do all the branding and all of that. But for a new business, that's like one of the tertiary things that you should be doing. The first thing you should be doing is going out and getting a sale. How do you see that? Do you agree with me there?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's kind of interesting, I think, this environment, because there's a lot of businesses that are starting up, like the ones where you're securing funds and that kind of thing, and where you're kind of building something before you go about making any sales. And that may work for them, but to have like a business, like I would consider myself a small business where I was doing it all myself, not getting any funding, And the only way you can make that business survive is if you get sales to kind of fund the business as you're going through it. So for me, and just a bootstrapping strategy, that's the only way you can do it. Is just go out and get sales, and then you can kind of grow it from there, which is what I've been doing. And I think it's been a lot of fun because you learn a lot along the way, and you have it's an interesting experience to go from starting at zero to kind of growing something that's that makes money, and it's kind of a cool thing to do too.
Yeah, and I think most people are probably in that position where they're not going out and getting VC funds and millions of dollars. It's easy to spend that money when you got it. The tougher thing, I think, is the entrepreneur that has zero or less than zero. They're in debt maybe, and they're going out and trying to hustle and build that business. So the tutoring business, you sort of shifted over. You shoved that onto the shoulders of your wife to let her run that piece. You've got Wellborn Media. Tell me what kind of encompasses Wellborn Media. What is it that you do there?
So Wellborn Media, our motto is share your passion, grow your business. When I was a teacher, the one thing that kind of struck me about the other educational professionals that I was working with, the other teachers, is that a lot of them focus on the negative, that they're all complaining about the administration, complaining about their students, and I've kind of found that in other people who are professionals in their industries, that more often than not, the larger group of people is kind of complaining about their lot in life. And when I attended my first Chamber of Commerce meeting, I met all these other entrepreneurs, and they all just seemed very enthusiastic, very excited about the future, very excited to kind of talk about their business and grow things. And that's kind of the people that I was attracted to, because I feel like I'm a very passionate person, and I want to achieve certain things, and it's really cool to be in a group of other people who want to do that as well. And so I thought that if I could help more businesses like those small businesses that attended the Chamber of Commerce meetings, that I would be doing not only our community a good service, but the world at large, because helping passionate business owners, if there are more people out there like that, there's going to be more role models for the students that I would have had in my classroom, which would make everyone better, I think. So that's kind of what attracted me to that. So our motto with the Wellborn Media business is share your passion, grow your business, and we try to help those business owners who are passionate about what they do reach more customers and make more money.
So what does an ideal client look like for you then?
And somebody who is passionate, because when you get to online marketing, unless you're doing pay-per-click or spending money, it's a long road. Social media, you've got to build up a following, you've got to get people talking about your business, and that doesn't happen overnight. The same thing about search engine optimization, trying to get, I mentioned getting my Chino Hills tutoring up at the top of the Google search results. You can't get there overnight either. You've got to come up with a strategy to figure out how you can get up there, and it takes time.
Yeah.
And so businesses who are looking at like bottom line where they're spending out money, it's an investment. You're investing in our services. And what I found is that people who are looking at, bottom line numbers, who aren't necessarily passionate about what they do, they don't see the vision, they don't have the long-term goals in sight. And so therefore, those clients typically don't work well with me. But the ones that do work well are the ones that have like a clear vision, a clear mission, something that they're trying to accomplish, because then it's easy to invest the money into something if you know that it's bearing those fruits, like the fruits of getting other people involved in your mission, your message, and by getting up in the search results, by spreading the word on social media, they're going to be doing that.
So I think that to shift gears a little bit, but still stay in the same thread of kind of what we're talking about, I see that I feel that a lot of business owners misunderstand social and how to use social effectively for their business. What sort of mistakes or things that you see businesses doing, kind of common things that can be easily remedied? What are some of those things look like, would you say?
Yeah, there's a lot of things, but I'll give you two specific examples. And one is really easy to combat, is just the frequency of posting. A lot of times people will start a Facebook page, they get really excited about it, they do a couple of posts, and then they stop. And the way that you're going to benefit on social media is by continually growing what you're doing. So let's say you're posting, you make 5 posts in a week, and then you can evaluate which posts perform well and which ones don't. So you eliminate the ones that don't perform well, you do more like the ones that do, and then if you keep doing that over time, you're going to see this like kind of cyclical effect where you're going to get a lot more engagement, a lot more people talking about you and your business.
Well, so not only that, those get indexed by Google, and they get indexed by the search engines, and there are topics that can be found later. Somebody asked me about this podcast, and they said, why don't you do it live? you get live viewers, and my response, I'm not really interested in the people who are viewing live. I mean, I am, but that's not the end goal. I'm more interested in the guy who is searching for a particular phrase a year from now and runs across one of these videos. So it's building that asset base and that content that's going to kind of pay dividends over time.
Yeah, no, and that's absolutely true. And then the other thing that I see a lot of business owners doing is that they're constantly trying to sell on their social media pages. So usually, and like in golf courses in particular, what they do is they'll put out these flyers, like they have a Thanksgiving buffet. So all these golf courses have this Thanksgiving buffet, so they create this really nice flyer, and then they just pop the flyer onto their social media channels and expect people to come to their Thanksgiving buffet. But that's not the way social works. Social works by having conversations with people. So just as an example, I just created one for the Thanksgiving buffet. So what I did was we created a blog post. We got pictures from last year's Thanksgiving buffet, so they're not a flyer that goes up there. So it's actually people who have visited the golf course who look like they're having a fun and they're having a blast. It shows pictures of the food, so you know what kind of food you're getting. And then we wrote a full blog post about what the Thanksgiving buffet is. We interviewed the guy who's a special events director who talked about why people attend the Thanksgiving buffet. So now you have all this context as opposed to just come to our Thanksgiving buffet. Now we're like, the Thanksgiving buffet is awesome because you don't have to cook, you don't have to clean, you can spend more time with your family if you're not cooking and cleaning. You've got all these different buffet stations of great food, and instead of just, this just blanketed there.
Yeah, well, what you're doing is you're shifting it from an ad-based type of communication to a storytelling type of situation.
Exactly.
And really, I found that that's the best use of social, is to tell those stories. And like you said, to layer context over the top of that. I think just yesterday, and I'm assuming you probably follow Gary Vaynerchuk. I think I've seen you comment a few times on stuff he's doing, but he said the same thing about the content is just a piece of it, but adding the context is sometimes even more important. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I agree with Gary on that point, definitely. Yeah.
Good deal. Well, Zeb, I do appreciate you being on the show today. That was nice of you to take time out of your day. It's good to finally kind of meet you face to face, in a sense.
Yeah, and thank you for having me on the show. And I did enjoy reading your book, so it was good. And I don't know if I can't remember the timeline of this, but I do remember when we wrote about getting involved on Twitter that I had mentioned something about starting a mastermind group. And I think that's how you had found me, that you were kind of, something that was indexed and you found it and you reached out to me and said, hey, you might want to be interested in this. Is that right?
That may have been how it played out. I can't really remember. I think that was like 2 or 3 years ago, probably. I can barely remember what I had for dinner last night.
Yeah, and it was. So anyways, I started a mastermind group shortly after that. It did a lot of good. We did it we met for a year, consistently for a year, and then we kind of disbanded, but it was a good segue into getting into that, and I learned a lot from your book. So
hey, I really appreciate that. Thanks for the shout out there. I think that mastermind groups are one of the most powerful tools that are available to a small business owner, especially in such a socially digital world. It's really nice to kind of get back to the in-person, face-to-face stuff. Yeah, so we really enjoyed our mastermind groups as well. But Zeb, anything else? If somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that for them?
Well, Twitter's always good. So it's Zeb Welborn. You can always reach out to me on Twitter if there's any questions you have, anything like that. I'm always available. So you can reach out to me on Twitter. You can go to my website, which is wellbornmedia.com, and learn more about that.
Okay, and I'll drop a couple of links to that in the description of the YouTube video here. I'll include your Twitter handle for people to follow you there. You're very active on social. I always enjoy reading your tweets and the things you guys are doing. So thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Toby.
And thank you guys for watching again. This is Toby Brockner, founder of V Squared Creative and the V Squared Creative podcast. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.